Ralph Norman right now, the South Carolina Republican, who is still no fan of Kevin McCarthy. I don't know if that has changed, Congressman, but there is going to be a seventh attempt to see what, if anything, can be done. Where are you now on all of this?
Well, we've had a lot of interesting discussions late last night, early this morning. We're discussing things. What you'll see on the floor today is probably a nomination again for Kevin McCarthy or an adjournment, which we're going to oppose. But you'll see Byron Donalds being put up by a number of people. I will be voting for Byron Donalds. That being said, there are talks. Everything starts with the conversation, and I think we're having talks now.
You know, Congressman, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention what the president wants to do about the border. He's going to visit there. He's talking about these asylum cases, or those, I guess you call them preferential categories for the likes of those coming in from Cuba, Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti. That's the only difference I see, sir. You probably are familiar with more than I'll ever be. But what do you make of that, first off?
Just words. He's indicated he's not interested in the border. You know, he's been president now for going on 2 years. He hadn't even visited the border. Neither has the vice president, who was supposed to be heading up the border. So it's just words. You know, I think we don't know how many people illegally are in the country. It's probably in the neighborhood of 5 to 8 million people, which is pretty astonishing. There are more people on the terror watch list, which is a national security. What we have is an invasion. He has no interest in stopping that.
You know, Congressman, when it comes to, you're still a no vote on Kevin McCarthy. We're told that there was this gathering of, your colleagues to iron out some of these things, and that the Republican leader did make some concessions, including one that would allow a single congressman to recall him if it came to that. But none of this seems to budge you. Why not?
Well, my number one concern is the budget. My number one concern is, economic security is national security. And what I want to make sure of is that whoever the speaker is, he's using every tool in the war chest to cut spending. You can't balance a budget until you start cutting. And it's got to go through regular order. The 12 appropriations have got to be on time. And it's insane, the spending that's taking place. So whoever is speaker has got to assure us, and not just words. We've got to make sure that he actually will do it, and that's what we're discussing. That along
well,
with
he can offer for the time being, Congressman, our words, right? Promises and all of that. He can't act because he can't do anything. He's kind of frozen in place. Are you worried about that? And are you worried that if this caucus of those anti-McCarthy forces doesn't budge, this could go on for quite a while?
Well, it could go on for a while, but this is a good process. Look, we were out of session, out of the Capitol, 172 days last year. That's 5.5 months. Can we not take 2 or 3 days or longer to vet the most powerful person in Congress, I would argue, particularly in the House of Representatives, person third in line for president? We're vetting him just like anybody in business vets a CEO. We would need to find out what his priorities are and what he's going to do. The trajectory this country's on right now is not good. We need a fighter who's going to fight what this Biden administration is doing, and that's all we're doing. And the Senate is out of session until I think the 23rd of this month. So it's not like a lot of things could be done anyway.
Do you worry, I guess what I'm asking, Congressman, that this might be bigger than some of these policies and all that you alluded to? A lot of your colleagues have mentioned that they just don't like Kevin McCarthy. Some were sort of bristling at the notion he's been using the Speaker's office akin to sort of measuring the White House drapes and carpeting before someone becomes president. What do you make of that? Does that part bother you? Is it a personal thing with some of your colleagues, maybe even you?
Everybody will speak to that themselves. With me, it's not. I like Kevin McCarthy. He's done some good things. But, when it comes to, again, the budget and some common sense things that need to be in place, that's what we're insisting on. And we would insist that on anybody. I'm not going to coronate anybody just because they've been in the line of progression to ascend a speaker. What we've got to do is make sure that the next speaker, again, uses his leverage and power, one, to keep America safe, to keep get a balanced budget in place, and that's got to be done. And so hopefully we'll come to some kind of agreement where we're happy with, and trust is an issue. I will tell you that. Trust is an issue. We want to make sure, and we told Kevin this, we want to make sure whatever he says in words, he carries out in deeds.
Doesn't sound like you trust him.
Pardon me?
It doesn't sound, sir, like you trust him.
No, not. He hadn't sold us yet. I'll be voting. What you'll see on the House floor today, if we don't adjourn, and I hope we don't, you'll have Byron Donalds nominated from our end, and of course I think Kevin will be nominated. And it'll be the 7th vote. I realize it hadn't been done in 100 years, but this is democracy at its best. I mean, you have different views being debated, and the public can see what is going on. I don't buy that the sky's falling and the sun's not coming up. So I think it's a good process. I'm glad we're doing it.
All right, Congressman Norman, thank you very much.